Right, welcome everybody. It is the eve of Cape Town racing, and it's just Rouvaun and yours truly, and it will be for a couple of weeks. Our good friend Shaheen has taken a well-earned sabbatical. Remember that sometimes when Rouvaun and I are not here, Shaheen does all the homework and does his own little videos, for which we are most appreciative. But he's taking a bit of a time off, so Rouvaun, it's your and my turn to get involved, although both of us had a look and we thought, I wonder if he's taken a sabbatical because there's only 60 odd horses running on the day.
I think that's exactly what he did. He had one look at this and he thought, nah, this is not for me. But I've got news for him. I do hope he realizes I'm going to use my breaker glass theory that I have at home. If you come to my home and you break a glass, you've got to replace it with a half a dozen. So for every one I do while he's on sabbatical, he has to do 6. How's that?
Don't tell him when he comes back. But anyway, we'll miss him, and but he'll be back in due course. But let's go straight into it. And Rouvaun, you told me that you thought that the place accumulator could pay, eh?
Yeah. Even though it's very small fields, I mean, if you look at the 60 odd horses, it averages about 8 horses per race. But there are very tricky races in between, I thought, where one sort of have to look a little bit deeper and a little bit more at the form, because in certain instances too, there's weight turnarounds. So that all needs to be taken into cognizance. So by and large, I thought initially it was straightforward, but on closer inspection, I thought, nah, this definitely could get tricky.
Okay, well, let's start with the maiden juvenile plate, which is race 1 on the program. It's at 12:40. It's not part of the place accumulator, but some bipod punters will be wanting to get involved. And obviously, it goes without saying, the Team Snaith have a very strong hand here. They settled 2, 3, 4, and 5. But having said that, I think number 7, Jet for Time, Gaddis Bass Robinson's filly, will probably be pretty competitive here. What did you make of the first?
All I wrote here was Snaith in the first, but I do think that there's better value with the second choice, or the second favorite in the betting, because number 5, you know who is actually favored at 11 to 10.
Yes.
Now, yes, he was second in his 2 starts to date. This is his 3rd career start, so he'll be cherry ripe for the occasion. He does tend to race up handy, but this is also the first time he's going over that trip. He jumps from barrier position 3. Richards Fury obviously would have had the choice, so he would have chosen number 5, you know who. But I kind of like number 3, One Day or Day One, with Grant van Niekerk in the saddle. And I mean, he's really riding at the top of his game. He made a promising debut, where he finished 4th behind a horse called Mars Vigilante. And Mars Vigilante has subsequently come out and won the Clover Flag graduation sales race.
Yes.
And the horse that ran 3rd in that race was a horse called Persistence, and he subsequently run 2nd. So there's a lot to like in terms of the form line of the one that number 3, One Day or Day One comes out of, drawn in barrier position 5. So I think we can expect the natural improvement to come from his debut start. As you mentioned, the 3-year-old filly, Jet for Time, she's not without a chance. She ran in that Bloodstock South Africa Cape Yearling Sales Cup on Met Day. So I think she's also one that could get into the fray if she doesn't leave it for too late. I mean, if you look at the form line, she came from miles back and she was flying at the finish. So if she sits a little bit closer into contention and she does time it well, she could give the boys something to think about. But by and large, I think it's Snaith in the first, 3 and 5, 5 from 3, whichever way you like. And then, of course, include number 7 in your trifectas and quartets.
Okay, that's the bipod. Now, let's get on to the PA, because you'll be wanting to play a place accumulator tomorrow, which Rouvaun says is not necessarily straightforward. Some interesting first time, as you can see, in the second race. And what do you like here? This is going to be a fillies and mares contest. And what did you make of this race? Princess Santo improved last time. Is she enough to run a place, or are you wary of these first timers?
I think she's enough to run a place. The blinkers did the trick last time out, if one looks at that particular run. But that was also at Durbanville, and the course was running fast. So anything that went to the front was staying on well into the closing stages. She drums from barrier position 3. She was just pipped out of it last time out. She certainly is one of those horses that needs to be included in all play. In fact, I would even go as far as saying she's probably the banker in terms of the race runners. But it was interesting when I looked at the betting. Number 6, Safe to Assume, the Australian import from the Andre Nell yard for Platinum Racing, that is actually favored at 22 to 10. And I normally say the betting is a good guide in terms of what could possibly be the outcome. And not many of these horses will be going to Hollywood, and Safe to Assume really just have to be, showing that little bit at home, and she should be right there in the shake-up. So if you want to bank a one in terms of the racehorses, by all means. Otherwise, follow the money and maybe include 6, Safe to Assume.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same. I think if you put 1 and 6 in, you'll probably double up. But to excuse the pun, I think it's safe to assume that number 1, Princess
Correct.
will run a place.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's move on to the third race. This is a maiden plate over 6 furlongs. And again, a couple of first timers here. As you see, the trend of the day is not big fields. But the adage says the smaller the field, the bigger the upset. So if you are factoring that in, you only need 1 or 2 results in some of these PA races to get a really nice dividend. Mr. Frosty is from the Reeds yard at Devon Ashby rides. But I thought this race was a bit trappy. What did you do here? I mean, Pete Stain has got 3 runners. Paul Reeves has got a runner, and Pete Boot has got a runner, and the Crawford-Ricks combination got a runner, and Crawford's got 1 runner. So some of the bigger yards are not represented here. I think you've got to tread a bit warily. What did you think?
I don't think you need to tread warily. I'm going back to Mr. Frosty. In fact, if you look at his form lines, he was second in his last start over the course and distance. I certainly think from a 3 draw, he will be right up there as he normally is from the word go. And it will be a case of come and catch me if you can. In fact, that form line has been franked by Benjamin, who has subsequently come out and won again. And the third horse was a horse called First Among Equals that won in Port Elizabeth. So that form has been franked. I mean, if you speak about the others, I mean, West Coast Wonder on form is held by Mr. Frosty. Life on Mars, second run after Reston Gelding. So that could be something. Kudamain comes back from being gelded. Mumbo Express has also been gelded and also changed stables. And then you've got the 2 first-timers. The one is a brother to Jewel of the South, and the other one is a sister to First Flight, only cost 3,000 Rand, number 7, Somerset Rose. So if one looks at sort of the opposition that Mr. Frost is facing, coupled with the fact that he is one of those speedy types, I don't think he'll miss the first 3 as far as the is concerned.
Good, sir. Lots of confidence from Rouvaun there. Number 1, Mr. Frosty says, look no further in the place accumulator and banker. We go on to the maiden plate fillies and mares now, again over 6 furlongs. Again, a relatively small field. 6 runners going to the post here. And, well, what do you like here? Because, again, I think the form of the 3, Khalikyo Baby, is held up as well. That comes from the form line. What would you do here, Rouvaun?
And the blinkers also did the trick last time for Khalikyo Baby, if you look at the way he performed. I don't think this is as easy as it looks on paper. I think you need to include all of 1, 2, 3, or whichever combination of those 3 you'd like to include in the PA, because if one looks at them individually, number 1, Bold Dig Go, is having a second run after rest. He certainly had a very good comeback run. He'll be much fitter for tomorrow's occasion from the stable of Dean Kannemeyer. The 4th horse was a horse called Subterfuge. That has subsequently come out in 1. So that finished behind him last time out, and that's come out in 1. And the horse that finished just ahead of him was a horse called Joe Love. And Joe's Love has run second again. So that form line certainly needs to be taken into account. Alloway Grove is also, as you can see, a model of consistency. And you know what? I think a very big runner in this race, Oswald Lurch, Vaughan Marshall. And since Oswald has jumped on board him, he's certainly been there and thereabout in all of his runs. In fact, he hasn't missed the frame in his last 3 outings. And then, of course, Khalikyo Baby. Again, Paul Reeves. I think he can have possibly 2 winners on the day. The blinkers did the trick, and I think definitely must go into the equation as well. So 1, 2, 3, any one of those, or even all 3 in the place accumulator, if you're looking to double or treble up. The horse that sort of did catch my eye was number 6, Quick Breeze. She is a sister to Fresnay. There's a little bit green on debut, you see. She was slow away, and one can expect the natural improvement from her. She's on the Brett Crawford yard, and Greg Sheen will be doing duty. So if you're sort of looking for quartets, trifectas, etc., take into account that she's well related, and I think she's certainly one that needs to be taken into account for a larger purpose.
Okay, she's the 2-year-old in the race. Although Fresnay probably came into her own over a mile, 1800, so we shall see. But she certainly got a pedigree for sure. Okay, let's move on to the 5th race. This is a 86 handicap. We go over ground now. We go over 1800 meters. And again, quite a competitive field. And the forecast betting suggested 4-1 the field, which basically sums up what they thought of the race. But again, Team Snaith very strong here. They've got number 3, Destin, number 4, Heartbreak Hotel, number 5, Royal Watch, and number 6, Kariba Hall. So 4 runners for them here. I suppose they have the race at the scruff of the neck.
Not quite, because one has to take 2 Night Song into account. I mean, if you look at Night Song's form, solid. I mean, over the distance, he's run thrice for a win and a second. And he really must not be ignored. I mean, Greg Sheen from pole position, and I mean, look at the if one just looks at his form line in terms of what he and Greg has achieved. I mean, of late he's become an ATM. But my first choice in the race is number 5, Royal Watch. As you said, Team Snaith, very strong hand. 3rd one after a layoff. Cherry ripe for the occasion, and the way that he was staying on last time out over 1600 meters certainly suggests that this 1800 will be up his alley. So if you either take Royal Watch and Night Song, either of those, bank either of them or put both of them in, you should be able to survive the PA. Many people might be looking beyond those two to a horse like Kariba Hall. Now, Kariba Hall has got Grant van Niekerk in the saddle. And if one looks at the weights of this race and one takes all the corresponding form lines into account, then you'll see that he is certainly 2.5 kilos better off at the weights with number 3, Destin.
Yeah.
So in terms of where he finds himself in the pecking order, he's also one that cannot be ignored. But the bookmakers are betting sort of 3-1 the field as far as this race is concerned. But first choice would be number 5, Royal Watch, with the biggest danger being number 2, Night Song.
Okay, 5 from 2 for Rouvaun, but I agree with him. Number 6, Kariba Hall, with Grant van Niekerk riding so well and sitting with just 55 kilograms, he certainly could be effective in race 5. Right, let's move on from that 86 handicap to a 90 handicap, but this is for fillies and mares. If you blink, you'll miss this. It's over 1,000 meters. The pace will be on from the go. The stall gates will open and they'll be absolutely flying. What do you like here, Rouvaun? Again, not a big field. 7 horses go to post. Oh, What a Night is in a rich vein of form. Can she continue on her winning ways?
I think she's taken a little bit stronger than she has been beating in her last 3. On paper, to me, this looks like a complete boat race between number 1, Green Light Gal, and number 3, Brianna. In fact, funnily enough, in the first race, I like a horse called One Day or Day One. So you've got brother and sister running on the same day. If one looks at Brianna, one first time out, was absolutely flying last time out to finish second behind Green Light Gal. She's certainly on the up. There was just under half a length. There was to be a neck between the two of them, and Brianna is a half a kilo better off at the weight. So again, there shouldn't be much between them, but a half a kilo for a 0.3 beating on paper. Theoretically, the one should finish a nose in front of the other this time round. So hence the reason I'm thinking not going to take any chances. To me, it is definitely a race in 2 between those two, 1 and 3. And as you said, Oh, What a Night is an absolute in a rich vein of form of late. Comes into this race off a hat-trick of wins, but I do think that she is taking on a little bit stronger than she has been beating of late. If you want to play wider and you want to include her, by all means do so.
Okay, Rouvaun's got that sussed out as well. Fillies and Mares 90 handicap. He likes the 1 and the 3 and the 1 there. And I see that the next race is where we drop to a 79 handicap, Fillies and Mares 1400, and suddenly we've got a bigger field here, field of 9. So this perhaps Is this where there could be a train smash?
If the weights are correct and if I've done my homework correctly, maybe not. I do like a roughie that I will include in everything, and that's number one, Alfred's Girl. I see the bookmakers got her at 10-1. She's ideally course and distance shooter. She loves to race up handy. She jumps from pole position. Oswald Noach, again, another, if you look at her form line, has been riding on the top of his game on board her in her last few starts. So she's one that hasn't missed the frame in quite a while. Now, if you like Lilac Sensation, who's currently priced up at favorite, she renews rivalry with 5 Wild Creature and number 9 Miss Millstream. Now, those horses finished second and third behind her. She was running on strongly when she beat Miss Millstream last time out. Now, Miss Millstream was number 9 on the card, and she's a kilo better off at the weights with number 2 Lilac Sensation. And she was the one that was in front. Lilac Sensation came to grab her close home, and I think the kilo could make all the difference. Likewise, number 5, Wild Creature, who finished just behind them, was a kilo and a half better off at the weights with number 2, Lilac Sensation. So, you know, if one takes all that into account, then I think Miss Millstream should be the choice in the race. From the stable of Pete Buerta, Louis Mkotwa, Wild Creature cannot be ignored. But I'm going to play it safe and include all of 1, 2, 5, and 9 in the place accumulator.
Okay, 1, 2, 5, and 9. Interesting, Miss Millstream, because Pete Buerta's yard's been in excellent form. He doesn't have a big string, but I think he was a very underrated jockey, in my opinion, and a good horseman. And from a small yard, he's doing well.
Absolutely. In fact, he had a winner at Durbanville, and the same horse, I think, came out around second again a week later after winning. Captain Dizzy, that's it. Captain Dizzy.
Yeah,
Captain Dizzy. That's it. He's got a very small string. I mean, and I tell you, they get, personal attention. All of the horses that's in the yard. I've gotten to know Pete very well over the years because of common friends we have in common from Durban, and he and his wife Nicole always make a point of coming to spend some time with us in the box on the bigger race days. So yeah, really, Pete Buerta, I've got healthy respect for him and what he's achieved thus far.
Yeah, me too. And long may he continue. If you're looking for someone to send a horse to in Cape Town, as Rouvaun says, you'll get lots of TLC there. Okay, let's move on to the last race. Now, this is a merit-rated 80 handicap, and it reminds us that the next meeting will be on the 13th of April at Kenilworth, but this is over 1,400 metres. And it's the biggest field of the day, Rouvaun. 12 go to post, and it's a handicap of quite a big spread in weights because Richard Ferree and Snaith team up with the 1, Giacomo Puccini carrying 61.5, but then you go down 9 kilograms to get the bottom weight, number 12, Able Surprise.
That's what makes it tricky. That's what makes it very, very tricky. I've narrowed it down.
Earlier on, you were going to go 4 horses in the PA here as well.
4 horses in the PA, correct. 4 horses in the PA in the last leg, all of 1, 3, 5, and 7. I think it's pronounced Giacomo Puccini. I'm going to double check that tomorrow because I've actually got to call it. Yes. It's not Giacomo. I think it's Giacomo Puccini. I'm going to double check that with one of the states tomorrow, or even Kevin Somerville, because they are the breeders and they're also the part owners of this horse. So if one takes that last one into account over the course and distance, definitely I think there's more to come from that one. Jeans Man, number 3, is my roughie in the race. I always love Jeans Man. Goes to the front and says, come and catch me if you can. I mean, last time out, he was on his bicycle from the word go, and he may be difficult to peg back, obviously depending on the conditions of the day and how the course will be running. 5, All About Al, very likely raced, winner of his first start, runner-up next time out. I mean, that was a very good post-maiden effort, first time in the handicap, and he's also got Grant van Niekerk in the saddle, and it's very seldom we see Grant van Niekerk riding for Adam Marcus. In fact, in the computer form, it says he's only ridden for him twice before. So I think there's lots more to come from All About Al. I think he's a horse that's certainly on the up and a horse that one sort of can pencil in for later on during the season. He's an up-and-coming 3-year-old. And, you know, there's that winter series that's also coming up in Cape Town. So he might be aimed at that. And then, of course, there's Path of Choice. If one looks at his last run, in the computer form says he pulled and all sorts of things. So he over-raced in his last start. And if he settles, I think he's a horse that is definitely in here with a shout. Luke Ferraris riding for Vaughan Marshall, and he's also half a kilo better off at the weights with number 1 Giacomo Puccini. Beyond that, I think it's going to be very difficult for any of the others to try and find the frame, but I've narrowed it down to all of 1, 3, 5, and 7 in that particular order. No, actually 1, 5, 3, 7. That's the order.
1, 5, 3, and 7. Okay. Yeah, tough way to end, and a lot will depend on the pace of the race. But as you say, one thing's for sure, Gene's man will be on his bicycle, especially from the one draw, eh?
That's it. He'll be in front, and it will be a case of a good pace, and he's a horse that doesn't stop either. So come and catch me if you can. Hence the reason I never ever leave Gene's man out.
So you ran through that PA, Rouvaun. How much did it work out to be? It's quite affordable.
It is quite affordable. I think it's about 216 Rand if one takes sort of all the choices that I've given. And of course, you can obviously take the bipod as well, because I only have 2 horses, and you can take either of the state horses as a banker maybe in the first leg of the bipod. So there's that to look at as well. As far as the pick 6 is concerned, I think we pretty much covered everything there is to cover in terms of the pick 6, unless of course there are people that feel some of those handicaps towards the end of the day. They do look a little bit challenging, and they can, those fillies handicaps especially can throw up a result. And it's not an easy way to end the day, because I think the last 3 races on the card are all handicaps. So that's something to take into account. But the maidens earlier on, I think the maidens earlier on, you can narrow it down to 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think a lot of bigger punters will be doing just that, Rouvaun, trying to get your bankers in early. And then even if you think those last handicaps might behave, there's nothing better than running field with 2 legs to go and hoping that you pull a roughie and get a real big dividend. But Rouvaun, thanks for all the help, particularly on tonight, because I know you'll be studying your colours because you're calling tomorrow.
Yes, I'm calling tomorrow. In fact, it's not that difficult tomorrow. I mean, it's like 60 horses. So I think they average about 8 horses per race, except for the last 2 races where it's double figures. But other than that, it's like single figure races. But you know what they say, the smaller the field, the more difficult it is, because now you've got to find a little bit more interaction in terms of what is actually happening and paint the picture a little bit more glossier than just being boring first, second, third, fourth, whatever. So, the smaller the field, the more difficult it becomes.
The listeners are in very good hands, or more importantly, in good voice, listening to your voice, as we will get royally treated from the commentary box tomorrow. So, Rouvaun, thanks for your time. Thanks for running through the PA. And we wish all the punters all the best. He's not here, Shaheen, but I'll leave it for you to pass on the message to hit them hard.